Another day, another sweet jacket.
Yes, of course.
I see your point. When it comes to taking a man with your bare hands, it's rather risky, isn't it?
You're very clever, Mr. Conant. But there's one flaw in your cleverness. It is as easy to kill you with these as with that.
Hey everybody, this is Josh Hagen and Tommy Macias. So for people that don't know who Tommy is, you probably don't follow that much judo.
We took 2 golds in judo this week. I don't know what my heart might explode, but we've got a chance.
Judo is like different level.
Like judo is the best, in my opinion, for someone who's wearing clothes.
Joining me is Josh Hagen. Nobody better to talk judo with us.
How deep would you go? Judo's a good thing to learn, man, just period.
Let's start the podcast.
All right, let's get rolling today. We are on episode 6 of Judo's Calling with Tommy Macias and Josh Hagen. And let's start out. What do you got? Any feedback from any of our recent podcasts? Any?
Shots fired.
Well, I got one feedback that you sound really nice. That you sound like a nice guy. And I'm like, no, but he's not. But I can trick you sometimes. So. But it's well feedback that it was interesting to hear us talk, and that they appreciate it. And that this Josh guy, he sounds really nice.
Okay, that's good. I had one piece of feedback from a close friend who thought I sounded a little mean. So it's nice to hear the opposite. That I'm not.
So the opposite. Okay.
Yeah, the opposite. So I guess to some people I'm mean, and to others I'm not so mean. So it's maybe that's a good balance, you know.
So the guys that knows you, they think you're mean, and the guys who don't know you, they think you're nice.
Yeah. It's like a magic trick. Yeah. Well.
No, but I haven't really got any more feedback than that, except that they like the podcast so far.
Yeah.
So I hope I get more feedback and more maybe questions or something else we can talk more about.
Yeah, I just recently posted the podcast of myself, about the story of me or whatever, you interviewing me, and the episode where we sort of talk about your life growing up in judo. That podcast is edited and ready to rock, so I'll be releasing that in the next day or two. So between our last podcast and this one, there's basically like 2 episodes that are sort of dropping in a short period of time. So from that, maybe we'll get a little more feedback from people and see what they're interested in and things like that.
Do you have a top 10 for later?
Oh, I don't. I know what I want to talk about as an episode, but we need a top 10. What do you got? You got something?
Yeah, we think about it.
Okay. Back of the mind while we go.
Yeah.
What are top 10?
We'll figure something out.
Okay. Sounds good. What I want to talk about today is something that I think about and talk about a lot is confidence in judo, and like the power of confidence and what that means. Not arrogance or being pompous, but being confident. And I think there's lots of ways that there's things people can do to being confident, or things that I do that make me more confident, or why I lacked confidence before. But I think it's like not really spoken about that much. People talk about like unwillingness to finish an attack in a tournament. You know, people used to, when I was growing up, people used to say, oh, they don't come all the way in, they don't fully commit is another word. And I think that's all signs of lacking confidence. So just as a general rule, what's your stance on confidence in judo? And
I think confidence is really important for everything, and not just in judo, but to learn new stuff. Like, I think you have to be confident to be able to learn new stuff, because you will fail sometimes, and if you're not confident, you will like feel this insecurity and not do it 100%, like you say. And I think this insecurity comes with if you have lack of confidence. So in life, it's important. to believe in yourself and just do it and do it for yourself. And
Yeah, and for one thing, like as we get to know each other better, you're clearly a confident man and confident in the quality of judo that you perform.
yeah,
Right?
some part, yeah, both yes and no. Like for sure, I can be like before a competition, before a fight, I was not confident. I have all the doubts that everyone has. But when I said that, I knew that it was not, I could not run away. I had to go up and do that fight, and then just focus on the fight and go for it. But of course, I was doubting myself before sometimes, and I didn't feel so confident before entering the fight. But it was something that I had to do, and I have always been with this motto: never go for plan B. Like, don't have a plan B. You always have one plan. That's plan A, and that's what we're going for. And I was like really focused on that all the time. That I was going for my game plan, and even though I was not confident or if I was scared, or insecure, doesn't matter. I do what I'm doing. And so on the competition day, then I can feel, okay, I was not the most confident, even maybe it looks like that sometimes. But when it comes to training, and I think all the time when I was in training, I was really confident that I want to be better. And I was never like, I could never feel ashamed of anything I did. And I think that brought me to the next level, that I always could have a really good training because I was confident. I could not be ashamed of what I was doing, and I believed in myself, and I thought that was the way forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a couple things that are interesting. One is you have a game plan, right? And you work
Yes.
on that game plan typically with your coach, which a lot of your career was your father. So when you went into matches, you didn't just hope for victory. You had a plan and a process of what you wanted to follow to defeat a certain opponent. And I think that's a really important tool, because it's like, it doesn't matter if you're confident or not. This is what you have to do. Like, we don't think about whether or not we're confident towards driving a car. We know the process. I get in the car, I turn the key, I do those things. And then the process sort of follows along. So we drill on we work and prepare for the parts that we want to be successful with. And then we put them together in a sequence is our game plan. And then we just follow the game plan. And if we're able to follow the game plan to some degree, confidence or lack thereof doesn't really play a factor.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that
You
make
just have to follow it. And
Yeah.
if you're scared, it doesn't matter. Or you're nervous, you can be nervous. Some people say you're not allowed to be nervous before the fight. Of course, you're allowed to be nervous, but it should not affect the game plan. It's a problem if it affects the game plan. But as long as it don't affect the game plan, it's no problem to be nervous. And I think that's the important thing, that you have to follow the game plan. Because if you don't follow the game plan, you don't even know. Then you win with luck, or you lose with unluck. And I'm never doing judo with luck. I want to win because I'm the best.
Right.
And I have to follow that game plan if I want to know if what I did was good, or if it was not good.
Right.
If I'm losing the fight and I don't follow the game plan, then I'm not sure if the game plan was right or not. If I'm losing the fight and follow the game plan, then I know, okay, it was a bad game plan. So
Yeah, it's funny because there's two things. One, I talk about that a lot, is like when you don't have a plan, it's really hard when you reflect upon a match to know what went right or wrong or how to fix it, because you just played and that you hoped something would work out. So it's really hard to take a match where you just played and you won or lost. They beat me or I lost. But like, how do I take something from that to make sure that next time I don't lose that match? Well, if there's no like process in how you're competing, then it's really hard to take some actionable item away to be better. Like, how do you improve if there was no plan to start with? I think is one of those things. It's like when people talk about how do you look at your finances and not and get better, if you want to save money, You have to make a budget. But if you never make a budget, how do you know if you missed or hit or whatever? It's because you never had a budget in place. Really similar there is like we just hope things work out because we train judo and we hope we'll win. But then if we lose, what can we take from it?
But I think it's a really important thing when we talk about confidence. I think it's important, like this on training. If one athlete is confident on himself, then he is also able to make mistakes. Like he can make a little bit fool of himself. And I think people that is not confident on themselves, they are too scared to do something new or like go away from their comfort zone. Mm-hmm. But confident people, they are more able to go away from the comfort zone. And if you want to be better at something, you have to get out there in that when you're not in the comfort zone anymore. There is where you get development. And if you're not confident in training, then you will never get in that development zone, the risky zone, and then you will not be a better player.
Yeah, one thing that was crossing my mind as you said that was you had these, as we both have talked about, is these epic matches with Artur Margelidon. And the one thing that stands out to me about that is the cordial nature, the friendship that you built through competing for each other. And I think a part of that comes from the confidence you had of being prepared. So when one of you smashed the other one in a match, you weren't embarrassed. You didn't think it didn't turn into not liking that person because they beat you, because you started punishing yourself. You were like, this guy's really good and he prepares really well. Losing to him's not embarrassing. I shouldn't be embarrassed. So it allowed you to like have this friendship out of this like total battle that you guys would have back and forth, where maybe if you weren't as confident, that wouldn't naturally occur because you wouldn't like them because they beat you and you're embarrassed that you lost.
Yeah. Then you would never learn from it. And it's the same, like just learning new stuff. I really love to learn new stuff. I don't know why, but I love to learn new stuff. You know, I was playing guitar in Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds maybe really stupid and everyone was laughing to me, but you know, everyone was laughing, I think. I said, oh, this is so bad, but I just enjoy it and I really want to learn, and I was confident that it doesn't matter if someone is laughing to me, but I'm learning. Right. And in the end of the evening, I think I was quite good at guitar.
Yeah, you could play a song.
Yeah,
that was pretty good.
And it's the same. Well, like I cannot do a backflip, but I've been trying to do a backflip so many times. And every time I'm in the dojo and my wife is with me, we are trying because she's the only one that like can help me. And I know some of the younger kids, they're like laughing to me like, look so stupid. Like, yeah, but if you want to succeed in the end, you have to try many times. Like sometimes when younger guys are doing something and they fail the first time, they don't do it again, right? Because they are not confident, and that's a problem. Because of course, the first time you try something new, it will not work because it's something new. So it will maybe look stupid, but in the end, if you continue, then you will learn.
Right. Yeah. It's a funny thing, like the cost of learning something new and how we prevent ourselves from doing it at worry of embarrassment. We're so worried about what other people think about what we're doing that we don't follow this thing, and it's like nobody cares, and people recognize you're learning it. Like when people saw you playing guitar at camp, it wasn't laughing. It was more like, oh my goodness, he's learning to play guitar. Like that's cool. Like that's kind of funny.
Laughing is that.
Well, yeah. But it's like, but learning something new. So it's easy to go, yeah, of course I can't play like Jimi Hendrix. I don't play guitar. I just picked it up. Of course I'm not going to master this thing.
Yeah, but in the end I was playing like him, so.
Yeah, that's true. It was very impressive. But like, of course, it's going to take a period of time to learn. Like, of course, like language is the same thing. People get really insecure about their ability or inability to speak a language, and it's like, man, language you're expressing so many things just with words. It's of course very complicated. I've been trying to learn French forever, and I still try, and it's still trop difficile pour moi, you know.
Non, pas plus français.
Ouais, un petit peu.
Un petit, ça va.
Ouais. But yeah, I think I and the other part is I think so much of confidence comes from preparation. So when I was a small child, like grade 4 maybe, we had to do a speech at school, and I remember I didn't do my work. Like I didn't prepare for this speech at all. And they say Americans, as an example, they did. I remember hearing this once. They did a poll in the United States and said, "What's your biggest fear?" And number one was public speaking, and number 2 was death. And so the fear of like speaking in public. So I do this speech in grade 4, and I didn't prepare, and I was so embarrassed. Like it was horrible, and I just remember how horrible it felt. And then from then on, I was like, if I have to speak, I'm not going to be unprepared. I'm going to practice, and I'm going to do things, because feeling unprepared in front of everyone was really embarrassing for me. So it was a good lesson for me that way. But then when you prepare and you go through that, and then the next time you go to give a speech a year later and you've prepared, you're confident that you'll be able to perform and put the message forward that you want. So that confidence totally came from preparation. I think so much confidence.
So today you like doing speeches?
I don't know if I would necessarily say like, but I'm embarrassed less frequently from providing one. How's that sound?
Yeah, I believe it. I don't like doing speeches. I do lots of speeches, but that's always about myself. And
Right.
when I talk about myself, I know the truth, so I can. Then I have no problem with, like, if everyone say, "Yeah, I'm nervous." No, I'm not nervous, because I'm just gonna talk about myself. That's really easy.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's but yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think the more prepared you are, that is definitely connected to confidence. And then the more, and this is why I'm obsessed with learning, is the not only working hours, like being prepared is not just hours in, it's efficient time in. So like
Yeah.
finding a process or working towards a process, and constantly, that's why I constantly want to sharpen the process of developing a program, because the more I do that, the more confident I am in that process, the more time. It's not just hours on the mats. And as you know too, like we could be on the mats 400 hours a week or whatever. I don't know how many hours in a week, but a lot.
No, you cannot, but
But you could put all this time in on the mats. But if all you're doing is the same thing and you're not focused on details, then it's a waste. You could have a more efficient hour of training in a week than 20 hours by somebody else. So
And I see this a lot, like when we do runnery in the club, like some people, they're just they're doing so much drop technique, so they don't get this efficient time, like when they are doing judo. And a 4 minutes runnery, it's like really 20 seconds of runnery time, because it's so much go around and doing other stuff.
right.
And when you're doing runnery, you have to like use those 4 minutes full.
Right.
Like when I was preparing for the Olympics, I remember I had one training partner in Copenhagen. When we did 4 minutes runnery, I don't think we like let go of with the grip a single time. We didn't throw each other. We were just holding the grip all the time and like having a dynamic runnery. And this was 4 minutes of effective runner for those 4 minutes. And I think it's important to like. I remember one time when I was in preliminary school. I think it was the 7th grade or something, and we talked about homeworks, And my teacher told me, if you are efficient in the school, you have no homeworks. You can do all the works in school. And I like to train a lot when I was young, so I'm like, So I did 100% in school all the time, so I had no homeworks.
Right.
And that I really brought with me to the training as well. Like, when I'm in training, I do 100% here. So I'm like done. And when I do something, I do 100% of that, so I don't have to do it later.
Right. Yeah. That sort of brings me to a thought. It's a big conversation, I think, is about training partners. There's 2 things that remind me. One is you used to play a game, as we talked about, with your brother, where you would pretend to be a different superstar in judo, and then you sort of practice their judo. That's number 1. And number two, as another person from a small judo nation, we don't have 400 people on the mats. So how important do you think huge amounts of training partners and the quality of those training partners are? I guess we'll start there. And I've got a few other questions to go from there, but let's start there.
It's depend on, I think it's different from person to person and which style you want, which style you are playing for. Like with me, it was a really creativity judo and want to find the small details all the time. Then it's not the most important to have good sparring partners that can beat me at training. But if you have more physical judo style and only like take them down, hold them down, of course you have to have a partner that can push you on the training. Like I said before, you have to be away from the comfort zone if you want to develop your style. And with me and my judo, I didn't have to have good training, or like, of course I had to have good training partner, but not training partner that could beat me. Like I just had to have someone I could play with, like, because when I play, I got in away from my comfort zone. I had to do something else, and that developed me as a judo player. So for sure, you need to have the right training partners for your style, and the right training partners are the good one.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk about what is a good training partner.
For me, a good training partner was someone I could have fun with and do a lot of runnery, and they just enjoy being on the mat.
Right.
But for sure, it's different from everyone. Like some guys, they really like this, when they push each other really much. I remember I was in a training camp, and one of my Swedish colleagues got into a fight with another one on the mat. It was really bad. And then when he came out, I'm like, "Oh, are you fine?" It was like you were fighting. Like, no, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. It was fun. Okay. So he really fought down, but that was judo for him. Like just stand and push to each other, and they try to get the other one out from the mat. And
Right.
And so for sure, I think it's different from person to person as well.
Yeah, I think to define what a quality training partner, I think there's a couple universals. You need to have someone that's going to be there consistently.
Yeah, that if you only have one, yeah.
Yeah, but
still,
let's just say we have training partners. You need to have a consistent people that are there. So you have to have people there all the time. So we need consistent bodies. We need them to have an ability to train hard. Like they can't only last a minute in the round. They need to be able to fully train the rounds.
Yes and no. Because I remember when I was when I lived in Copenhagen, we had some players, they had stopped doing their elite career before, and they only came for the runner training, and they did maybe 1 or 2 runneries, and then they left.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the coaches there, he was really mad, like, "Hey, if you come to train, you have to do all rounds." And then I went to him like, "But no. If he can just do 1 round with me and then go home, that will help me. Because now next time he will not come because you force him to do all rounds." And he don't like that. He only liked to do 1 or 2 rounds. But 1 or 2 rounds, if you do one with me, it's good.
Yeah, I didn't mean they'd have to do all of the rounds. I mean, they have to make an entire round. They need to be able to do a round, not 30 seconds. Like if you're doing a round of Tachiwaza, they need to be fit and strong enough to last a round. Yeah. And you need to see them on a regular enough basis so you have people to train with. I think those 2 rules are universal. What I think we don't require is I don't think we require someone to technically be better than us and beat us all the time. And I think that can be actually, under the wrong circumstances, that can be bad. Because if every time I train with someone, if they're so much better and they show me that how much better they are, then them beating me over and over doesn't build confidence. If all I am is a failure in those matches because I can't do anything against you, then it's pretty hard to build confidence.
Yes. And today I'm training a lot with people that are young students when I hosting training camps and that. And when a 16-year-old guy come to me and say, "Yeah, but what did I do wrong?" I'm like, like when you play with me, you cannot look at it because I'm doing everything wrong as well. I'm changing my steps. I do stuff I'm not allowed because I'm just so much better. So even if you do everything right, you will still lose. So you cannot compare. Like if I fight with my daughter, even though my daughter do everything correct, she will never beat me. So
Pretty mean, maybe, but
but still,
but yeah, exactly. So it's like if everything they do is unsuccessful, then that person that's that much better, if they never give you an opportunity, then you never have a chance to be successful against them. It makes it really, really hard. So depending on the scenario,
and at the same time, like the one who is better, he can choose when he wants the other one to feel success.
right?
So
Right.
even if he does something wrong, I can choose. I let him throw me now. Maybe it was wrong. Like he could now throw someone in his own strength, but so I think it's maybe better to always fight with someone that is worse than yourself, because then you know when it's working, and you can like feel how much power do I need to throw him now. How much power if I change a little bit here? It's harder to do it with someone that is much better than yourself.
Yeah, and the other part is because you're not worried about the consequence, you can allow yourself to open yourself up to techniques you wouldn't normally utilize. If I'm learning a kataguruma and I'm not good at it yet, and it's you and I in the dojo, and you and I are going full on, and I'm like, I want to learn kataguruma, me doing kataguruma to you isn't probably going to be very successful. There's not a lot I'm going to take from that. It's going to be really, really hard for it to feel decent, or it'll make that process longer. Whereas if I put my hands on a 17-year-old athlete that's pretty good, they've got stamina and they can work hard, but I know, I can do kataguruma and I don't worry about a consequence of them like burying me, then I can sharpen the technique in a sort of real-time format.
Yes.
So it's like, that's where it's nice when you have options. So you can have the really, really tough rounds, but you can have these rounds where they can still be fighting as hard as they want, but for some reason there's a mismatch. And then you can expand your judo, because at minimum, when you fight the really tough rounds, it becomes a competition rather than development. And when it's a competition, you rely on what you're comfortable with instead of expanding. And the goal of training isn't to rely on what you're comfortable with to win. It's to expand our judo, right?
Yes. So we should always train with someone that is lower level than ourselves.
Or another option could be, again, let's pretend it's you and I, because we live in Antarctica and no one else lives there, but we both love judo. Then adjusting our rounds accordingly, where I go, okay, this round, this is what I'm going to work towards. And we open ourselves up as a partner to allow the person to do this, allow them to enter, but then maybe try to stop after they enter. It's like your partner either needs to be someone you don't.
Do you think we can do that actually? Like, I promise, if I say it to my guys, like, yeah, you can fight 100%, you can only fight 80%. I promise the guy who fight 80%, he will do 100% as well.
I think if we put limitations on the partner as a way, especially if we're really limited, where I could say, okay, Tommy's working on Uchimata or Tommy's working on Osoto, you're allowed to defend it, but you're not allowed to counter it. And now knowing that you can't counter is going to open the door for me to be like, okay, I'm going to try this really, really hard. And all you can do is try to escape. To make it even and fair and make class enjoyable, we can then put the same limitations on me. Okay, Tommy's working on Uranage or whatever. Maybe not a great one. Maybe Tommy's working on Taitoshi. He's allowed to do it. You can get out. You can try to defend it, but you can't try to counter it. And then that way it's a limitation that I'm not allowed to do something. I can still fight as hard as I want. Could be an area or similar. I mean, we're sort of talking about it as tachiwaza if it's everything. We do that in newaza already. We put people in bad positions in newaza when we teach often. You and I do. I put someone in a half guard with the leg trapped laying on their back. Okay, you can fight as hard as you want, but you're starting in this really problematic situation. Or another way we could say it is, we call it a Georgian grip, two wrapped this way. If I say, all right, Tommy's working on throws from the Georgian grip, you can fight as hard as you want, but Tommy, you have to let him get that grip. Now, once he's in this powerful grip, the likelihood of him being successful doing those techniques, and I'm trying to defend and get out, I think is one of those ways where it's not just saying you can only fight so hard, because we're too competitive to just accept that.
I think I don't know how much we have to talk with athletes and let them understand it. I remember I did last year, it was really bad. But I had some guys, half of the team, they were going for a competition, and I wanted them to be like self-confident before the competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, no one is allowed to throw them. No, I mean, it was not half of the team. I think it was 4 people. No one was allowed to throw them.
Yeah.
And you know what they did? You know, the rest of the guys, they were like going for ugoshi, put them down, but not throwing them, holding them up. And they're like, no. Now they're even worse confident than before because they got humiliated because they could throw, but they didn't throw. They hold them up. Like, that was not the plan. But
Right. That's funny. It's an interesting or a nice effort that didn't pay out, right?
yeah, but I remember my father, he did it all the time with us. If we had a competition during the weekend, then like, you're not allowed to throw him. And everyone like understood directly, okay, we're not allowed to throw them. We should just move around. They can attack. Like,
Right.
but these guys, they didn't understand. So
That's funny. The other thing is I also don't think that full on randori is always the most efficient way to get better.
me as well. I never do full randori. I think that's really bad.
Like I mean, you can make drills that are very specific, that are very high intensity, that mimic something that happens in a match, and then you can have that success, and the training partner is a big part of that process. So it's like same thing. Let's pretend you're getting ready to fight at a tournament, and you know that you have a really tough Mongolian, and you're going to have a really tough I don't know, I'm trying to think stylistically, Korean judoka. And so leading into that, we may have someone behave in the manner like a Korean judoka that you fight. A lot of collar movement, a lot of movement this way, dropping techniques, and a lot of this. And you might have a Georgian trying to clinch you constantly. So when we're limited on how many partners we have, having our partners mimic, just like you did as a child with your brother, having someone mimic a style that then we get practice in that scenario of like getting comfortable. Okay, for 1 minute, this person is going to come at you and try to clinch, and you need to not only defend it, but try to find a way to your judo. Or this person is going to fight like more of a Korean style judo, and they're going to mimic that, and you have to defend and adjust to it. Like, I mean, most clubs, most places, the style of judo is national or provincial or club based. You're not going to have a dojo typically that has Onbao and has Anshan Grim and has Hashimoto, right? So just that's not how it sort of works. People sort of train similar, and then they develop similar judo often. So having people sort of mimic that in stints is another thing, rather than just, we don't all have to do 4-minute rounds of randori for an hour every day or something like that as another workaround.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think when we do the randori, if we want to work with something specific for competition, then we should work with situation like we do in Nevasa as well.
Yeah.
In Tachiwaza, it's just end of the 10 seconds because someone has thrown off the 10 seconds. But there you can like fight. In those situations, you can do 100% both throwing from that situation, 10 seconds, boom. But if we do a full 4 minutes runner, then I think never do 100%. It's you don't get better. The risk of injury is high. Like I have so many. No, I don't have so many stupid players, but I've seen many stupid players that they don't want to get thrown, so they try to turn and land on their stomach when they're in the air. Like I try to tell my athletes every day, like if you're up in the air and you're going down, then you lost the fight. Okay, it's training. Don't try to escape it. If you try to escape it, then you get injured. Understand, you are losing the fight before that moment. If the other one is already in, then there's nothing you can do. Like, you have to stop it before.
Yeah. So, okay.
And I have so many people also. No, I don't have many people. I take that back. But I've seen people like, if I'm entering a technique, we're going down, and I can feel that Uke like trying to pull me down and do something, like try to turn the technique in the last second, like, this is getting dangerous because now he tried to remove my control of the technique, and this is so stupid because he's already losing. Now he has want to make him look better. I don't know, but they have to understand. They have to understand when they have lost, especially in training. Like, it's training, so it doesn't matter if you get thrown.
Okay, so I have a specific scenario for you now then.
Yes.
If you are against full randori, what did you do when you would go to major international training camps? Because most of your opponents are definitely going to go ham.
I know.
You don't think most people would try to fight you as hard as they could in an international training camp?
Yes, but
how did you adjust? I guess this is a better question, is you know that people are going to go at you incredibly difficult and try to win the round of randori with you. You're at an international training camp. You have athletes from all over the world. How do you make that round valuable, that you can take something away from it, given the context that, if you start throwing them, they might grab and bite and crawl at the mats to not land on their back. How do you make it still valuable for you?
Like, I think I can still do the same. Like, if someone is pushing me really hard, I can still do my style.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not counting scores, then it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
But still, like, I don't like when I was in international training camps, I never let someone throw me because with purpose, I don't like to get thrown because it's really hard to stand up. But I never let someone throw me in international training camps. But if they did, they did. I was not afraid to take risk. I think maybe some people thought I was really bad at training, and then I beat them on tournament every time. I don't know. But I know this happens sometimes. I remember one guy, he threw me so much in training, and I'm like, but in the competition I beat him 3 times, and he never beat me. But
okay,
still.
so here's my next, back to our original concept. Here's my next question.
I go back and say again, like, when I wasn't doing international training camps, I easily did like 6 rounds after each other. And you cannot do it if you go 100%.
Right.
I got this momentum in the end, like, and I had a really good feeling in the end. But I did 6 rounder easily, and I could really feel like the judo growing on me, like the last round when I was tired, of course, but the judo feeling was just there, and I just keep pushing, like, continue, and then if you do 100% in 4 minutes, then you're finished.
Yeah. Okay, 2 questions around that then. First one might seem a little silly, but when you were at an international training camp, would you hold back certain techniques to not showcase them in order to utilize them better in tournament?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Like, I really never throw sumigation training. But yes, that's just because I hate sumigation. I think that's a fun throw.
Right.
So I didn't hold it back, but because of that, it was more like I don't like the throw, so I don't do it in training.
Right.
I do sumigation, like, if it's a Thomas style sumigation, then I do it, but I don't do a normal sumigation in training. I think it was so boring.
Right.
I tried to do something else. And then I remember my coach, he told me one time, like, you're not allowed to show your judo. When you fight someone of the good place, you cannot show your judo style. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's a good plan for you. But Josh, you know me. And as we talked before, like, if you are defending against my judo, then I know the second part of it.
Right.
So I really liked if they knew my judo and they were trying to defend against it, because then I had something else. Like
Right.
I knew the second step. They didn't know the second step because they only know the first step from training. So
Right.
I didn't hold back because like sometimes I was holding back how I got my grip. I was like maybe taking my grip 2 to 3 times every round that I knew I could take the grip. Then I tried something else. Like I didn't get for the best grip in the world the whole time. But for the throwing techniques, no.
Right. I also think there's a funny thing about it. Like in my head, I think if you do judo that way, it's a very negative place to operate from. It's like pretending as if there's secrets. Like there's not really. Like you can be more prepared and you can have more judo and you can utilize more techniques, but acting as though there's like these secrets, I think puts you in a corner that this is all you can do. When it's like, I think in a mindset, it might be healthier to be like, no, I don't need to do that because I'm constantly improving. I'm constantly adding. I'm constantly getting better. You can see my playbook. In fact, especially now, I can pull up endless hours of you doing judo and watch it. Everyone can do that. So just because this one time I put my hands on you, I should hide my osoto. It feels like it's going to create limitations in my own judo. And that is the type of like funny decision that can erode confidence because I'm so insecure about whether I can be successful that I got to hide it from you like a magic trick. I think it's just like a funny place to come from.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But I promise you, like if you ask most of the rest of the top athletes, they will say they hide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know when I reach a certain level, I think when I got to top 10 in the world ranking, then the rest of the top 10, they stopped training with me.
Right.
I did a lot of runner with Odrio before I was in the top 10. But when I got the top 10, he never did runner with me again. And the same with Lasha. The only one I did was with Arthur, I think. Because the rest, they didn't want to run with me anymore.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I heard once head coach of Israel, what's his name?
Smadian.
Say it again.
Smadian.
Ron Smaja, yeah. I heard once, I think it was an interview where I heard him say that he wanted to do randori with Koga, and Koga, they wouldn't let him do randori with Koga, so they would have people do judo with Oren Smaja, and then they would take that information and bring it to Koga so he could prepare for it. But he never got put his hands on Koga. The team wouldn't let him. And it's just like it's a kind of a crazy, funny thing. But yeah, I think it's like sort of I mean, again, they've been highly successful and they produce great judoka, but I think it's sort of like a negative mind space to look at judo from. At least it is for me. And if it is for me, then it is for other people, and it obviously is for you as well.
But I promise the Japanese, they're really good. Like I don't know what kind of system they have, but I remember I was at the Grand Slam in Osaka one time, and I was fighting in Japanese. Then the coach come before, like when we were in the green room, a coach came to this Japanese I was fighting, and then he shows one of my techniques to him. I'm like, oh my god, this technique! I remember I throw everyone at Tokai University with this technique, and he's coming and showing it. And this coach, he was not there in Tokai, so someone have like told about my technique to this coach who comes now and showed like it was not one of my best techniques. So I'm like, yeah, this technique I only do it if they like try to push me away, and I do this. So but I thought it was so funny that I could see that he was showing my technique to this guy, and like. And I remember in Tokyo, everyone like, oh, no, not judo.
Yeah. But the one thing that was interesting, the one you mentioned, I think you mentioned, was that while most in the top 10 wouldn't do judo, it took for you to get a certain level, and then Ono Shohei did randori with you.
Yeah.
Like where most of them.
No. With Shohei Ono, it was something like I remember the first time I got to do a rounder with him, I was number 3 at the world ranking, and then we did runnery. Like first, he was like, I asked, "Do you want to do?" Like, yes. Like, I said yes. Yes. Okay. And then we did runnery, And then after the round, he was like, no. Then after the round, he came like 5 minutes later. He asked me for another round.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, yeah, I can do another round. And then he said, you are pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
And then I realized this guy, he don't know who I am. Okay.
Right.
But he was like, he thought I was doing good. So then he wanted another round.
Right.
But yeah, with him it was different. Like with him, but I think like I also did run with him many times after that, and I think that he wanted to run with me because he knew it was hard for him to fight me, and he wanted to figure out the secret.
How to beat you.
Yeah. But with him, I got the respect of that. I did the first run with him, and then
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That's the part
going,
that's while most were avoiding you, one of the greatest ever was like, now I want to put my hands on you. You've earned my respect that you're a good player. Now I want to really see what you're capable of. So it's sort of an interesting contrast.
Yeah. Because like you can now it's different weight class, but with Abe, he also wanted to do a lot of running with me. I think it's because my judo was so different, and it was really hard for him to fight me, and he came a lot to ask if he wanted to fight, and yeah, of course.
Also interesting, like Hashimoto, your gripping doesn't fit his judo. Like he definitely has other skills, but his Sode is definitely the star of his platform. And with your gripping technique, Sode is not so available. So it's a really interesting like matchup that way, that you naturally are taking away his best technique. Did he ever get you with a Sode? Did he trick you into finding a way to get Sode on you?
No, like he could entrance with Sode sometimes. I remember in the semifinal at the World Championship, he come in entrance with his Sode, but still it's no power when he enters. But he can still get in with his shoulder in my armpit. So
right.
But he has nothing more to pull. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't matter for me. It was good for me.
Yeah. No, it was good. I have an idea for a top 10.
Yes.
Oh, wait. There's one thing I want to mention first. One thing rewind a little. If you had a round, back to the confidence thing, if you had a round with someone that did smash you a lot, like one story that I heard, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Artur was telling me the first time Shaddy beat George Fonseca, the first time he beat him, I think was it a medal for a Grand Slam. I think a bronze medal for a Grand Slam. And he smashed Fonseca maybe twice in the round. And I was like, holy cow. I think it was Artur that I was messaging. And he said, you should have seen him at the training camp a week before. Shaddy knew he was going to beat him because he was just throwing Fonseca all over the place the week before. So then smashing him in the tournament made sense. So my question is, when you said there was one guy that threw you a bunch in training and then you go to a tournament and you went like 3-0. Is like, when someone throws you that much in training, how did you keep your confidence? Or was it just that I know I have a process that I follow? Because if you go with training with someone and they would light you up, meeting them in a tournament is probably not like the most like, yes, I get to fight this guy.
Like I said before, lack of confidence in the competition. I just followed the game plan, and then it worked out. This was this German guy. He threw me so much. Singh was his name. He was doing left Uchimat lefty. Again, hate lefties.
Yeah, my
I don't know how many times he threw in his Uchimat in training all the time. But every time in competition I beat him. And when I saw the draw, it was always the first fight I had him. I had him the first fight at Europeans when I won. And like, fuck, I have this guy. Like before the fight, I was like, I'm gonna lose this fight. Yeah. Then you're entering the tatami, and all you think about is about your game plan and that you're gonna win. Okay, that's the only goal when you enter the game. When you enter the tatami, then you're going for the win. Doesn't matter how I feel before. But of course, I had lack of confidence when I was gonna fight him because I was like, he's been throwing me a lot.
Yeah.
And even though I beat him 2 times, the third time I was like, now he's gonna beat me.
Right.
It's all in. I think like in the end, I was able to beat him in training camp as well. Because in then I didn't have so much problem with lefties anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. He's I actually, funny enough, I was a big fan of Anthony Zing, I think, right? That's his first name, Anthony, I think. I thought he was the better of the two, him and Vanke. But
Yeah, like
they were sort of back and forth. I mean, they're both very good players, but I thought Zing was a little better player, and I don't know if there was injuries.
like when I did training with them, I would say Singh was of course the better one.
Yeah.
And of course, he is also more fun judo to watch.
Yeah, a lot more.
And I think, like, now I don't want to step on anyone's toe, but I think that Vanke was like this, boom, 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 boom. Seeing he was like up and down, up and down, up and down.
Zing
sometimes he could be really good,
very, very good. Yeah.
And sometimes it could be really bad. And maybe that was the problem with him, that every time he fight me, he was really down.
Yeah, maybe you caught him on all of his bad days.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I've got my idea for our top 10. Speaking of confidence, we had mentioned off air, not today, but we had mentioned one athlete in particular. So I want to talk about 10 athletes. They don't have to be judoka, that are incredibly confident or cocky or over the top or whatever. So the reference I have is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, right? That's how you say his name.
Yeah,
so
Zlatan.
This guy is like totally a maniac. When you see him, he says, I thought I heard once him say something along the lines, who are the best three players of in the world? And he was like Zlatan or something like this. Just like he's a total maniac that way. Clearly confident, unbelievable world-class footballer, and has scored goals for the Swedish national team and played in like he was in the English Premier League, and
I think he won the Premier League, he won the French, the Spanish, the Italian. I think he won 5 or 6.
and he played in the
Dutch.
MLS as well at one point.
Yeah, he also won the Dutch in the beginning, like in the Swedish. He won 6 or 7 different trophies, but never the Champions League.
Right. So that's my
But
first
yeah,
one. Is
and he's not like a Swedish guy. This is not the Swedish style.
Yeah. So that's my first one. Who you got? Who you got as a incredibly confident or arrogant or maniac or persona?
Arrogance, sports guy. Now it's back in the days, but like I remember when I was young, I was a big fan of the 100 meters, and with Maurice Green, how he was.
Okay.
He won the I think he was world record holder at one time also before.
Around 99-ish, I think.
Yeah, I think he won in 2000, maybe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, he was really cocky when he was on the for the round, and he was.
Right. Yeah, that's a good one. Maurice Green. He was huge too, huh? He looked like a monster.
I only saw him on the TV, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, he just looked like a...
Yeah, all of the 100 meters, it looks so big.
Yeah. Okay, I got one. The next one I'm going to go with, not shocking, Michael Jordan. There's a really cool documentary about, it was The Last Dance, where he would just make up stories in his head. So like someone would walk past him in the hallway and they said hi, but they said hi instead of hello. I take this as a personal slight. And then he'd like imagine killing them in his brain and then go and do it and on the court. And he was like completely out of his mind that way, like borderline delusional, I think. Michael Jordan, I think, easily fits the mold.
Now I'm going with another Swede, not because he's cocky or anything, but it was just one fun thing he was doing in the competition, and it's so famous in Sweden. It's one cross-country skiing. Does it called like that?
Yeah.
It's Gunde Svan. He was the world champion at this point at the competition. Uh-huh. And then at one competition, like when they were warm up the day before or something, he was having his two, what does it call when the stick?
Oh, like the pole. Yeah,
the pole, ski pole.
Ski pole.
Yeah, ski pole. He had his ski poles the whole round, But then before he was entering, like where all the people are, then he took one long ski pole and was doing like this on one side,
Like he was
and
around.
was just killing it for like 500 meters, and was just so fast and was killing it. And then when he got out of the stadium, he removed it and took his two again.
Right.
And then like it's famous that he only did it to get inside the other's head. Like,
Right. Like
wow,
I don't even
he's
have
the
to do
world
it
champion.
properly.
Can he do that? And then in the evening, the day after, they like, I think the federation, they wrote something. You have to have two on one on each side.
Right.
But I remember that he said like it was really bad, but he did so hard when he was going through this, so everyone would like, well, what is he doing?
Right.
And this also like it's famous in Sweden. So like I think about it also when I know it's important. Like when we do warm up in competition, I remember my coach, he said like important, just focus on yourself, because don't look at the other, because you don't know what they're doing. They can just play games. Like we focus on ourselves, because we should not look at others these days, because then you're like, can he do like that? Pick the other one's eyes? Are you allowed to do that?
Right. Yeah, that's funny. The next one I'm going to go with, you might not know this guy, but his name was Bo Jackson. So Bo Jackson was a professional player in the 80s. He played both in Major League Baseball and the NFL. And I don't know if he was necessarily that cocky, but you know what it means to talk in third person?
Yes.
Yeah, so he sort of made that famous. When they'd ask him a question, they're like, how are you doing? He'd go, Bo's doing well. Bo knows this. And they famously made commercials, and sort of the idea of the cocky athlete speaking in third person, I think, comes from Bo Jackson, where he would always say, Bo knows this and Bo knows that. And so it was like, and then he was an unbelievable baseball player and football player. So he played in 2 professional leagues at the same time, was amazing. And he spoke in third person, which I think is sort of like the epitome of a cocky athlete. Who you got now?
I really think it's funny when people do that.
It's funny. Yeah.
I think it's so fun, but yeah. Who I got? Who? For me, I think this was hard, Josh. Top 10 cocky attitude.
Could be a judo person.
No, I don't want to say any judo person, because then I will. I guess all judo players will listen to this, and then we'll get some haters.
Yeah. What about some hockey players? Sweden must have cocky hockey player. Humble people, though, the Swedes, I think.
But Josh, we talked about this before. I'm really into judo, so if I have to, this is like trash talking. So now I have to say someone. I know it will not get.
Well, it doesn't have to be bad. It can be just that they're very confident. They don't have to be obnoxious about it.
Confident. If it's only about being confident, then you know we have our what is it called, pole, when you jump with a pole.
Pole vault.
Pole hold. What?
Pole vault. Where you go.
Yeah, we have our
with the pole?
we have our Swedish guy, Mondo.
Yeah.
When he won the Olympics, you know, they asked him before, "Are you gonna take the world record?" And then he said, "Yes, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take it."
It's a pretty good response.
Yeah, and you know, saying that in an interview before, I think it was 2 days before. Like, yes, if it's good weather, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna take it.
If it's good weather, I'll set the world record.
Yeah,
that's pretty confident.
and then he did it also. So, but these are like really nice. So it's nothing bad, but it was cool.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be rude. It can just be confident. Like, I think there's lots of confident athletes where you can just see this level of calm or something in them, because they just know that they're capable. But they don't have. It doesn't have to be someone over the top and ridiculous. It's just the ridiculous ones are kind of fun. Okay, I've got one. It's a fictional character.
Fictional character.
Yeah, it's not real, but it's a really funny scene. So I love it. There was a movie with Keanu Reeves called The Replacements. It's about football. In the 1980s, there was a strike by the players to earn more money in the NFL. So they brought in replacement players and kept the league going, which seems insane in hindsight. But they're like, no, we'll still sell the same product. We'll just get rid of every player because they're on strike, and we'll just fill them in with random people. So I don't think this character ever existed, but it was a very funny scene. So they have this Welsh football player, soccer player, and he's going to kick the field goal. And so he walks out and he has a cigarette hanging from his mouth, and then he hikes it and kicks the field goal. He's wearing like no pads. He might have even been drinking before he does it. And just the audacity to be like out in the field with a cigarette getting ready to kick the ball. It's just like he doesn't care at all. Don't worry, I'm going to hit it. It's just a really good scene.
And he did?
Yeah, of course. He crushed it.
Of course.
Yeah, he's the man. You got two more? I got one more.
But for me, I think it's most athletes, like when they talk to press, they don't say they are the big favorites. Like they want to like tune it down a little bit. So I think a lot of athletes are like, we will see what happens and we hope for the best. And there are not so many like, I'm just gonna smash everyone.
Right. Boxers, UFC fighters.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about UFC.
That's pretty, the Conor McGregors of the world. Pretty big trash talkers.
Yeah. And that's the part I don't like with UFC, the trash talking and just about. And I know it's just a game show for them, but to show this unrespectful mode to younger guys, that I don't like. So that's why I don't want to bring some of them up. But yeah, you have another one?
Yeah, I got tons.
You can take one of mine. Then.
Okay, so there was a guy. I need to look this up. He was a running back, and it wasn't necessarily that. He was so obnoxious, but he did something that was a celebration that I loved, and it was a football player for the Atlanta Falcons. Let me look up his name. And when he scored a touchdown, Julio Jones. Yeah. So there was a running back for the Atlanta Falcons, and every time he scored a touchdown in the end zone, he would have this dance that he would do every time he got a touchdown, and they called it the Dirty Bird dance. And I just loved how ridiculous it was. It's like such an insane thing that he knew he was going to get enough touchdowns that he came up with a celebration routine that he would do this certain dance in the end zone every time, and he got a lot of touchdowns. That was pretty fun. Jamal Anderson, I think was his name, and he was a running back for the Atlanta Falcons, and he would do the Dirty Bird dance as the Atlanta Falcons running back. That was a good one.
Okay, now I go a little bit back to judo now. Not because it's bad, but a little bit cocky. Someone is maybe saying, that's really cocky what he's doing. Mm-hmm. It's when Sagimuki is entering the tatami. Like he's so slowly, going like this. Gasp a little bit. And it's a little bit cocky, yeah. You can say, not because it's so good as well. You can like,
and he sort of like swings his arms, and he's like,
he swings down. He looks really tired, his entry.
I gotta agree that one. His entrance onto the mats for every match. It doesn't matter if it's a final. If it's a final, he just takes longer, and you're like, are we gonna do judo? And you're still waiting for Saggy to walk out on the mats. I grant you that one. That's a big one. The other one, judo one like that, totally different. But George Fonseca, when he wins big matches and he dances when he gets excited. It's another one that's that one's a little more fun.
Yeah, that it is. Yeah, it's hard. Are you allowed to dance or not?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Because
like the fine line.
It's fun. It's fun to see the emotions, right? But
Mhm.
still, you have to be respectful for
Mhm.
the loser. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's the fine line of like celebrating, but
yeah.
not like being obnoxious. Yeah.
But I think he started it with, and now all the French girls they are also doing it when they're
Okay.
winning.
The winning dance.
Yeah,
I'm trying to
the
think if
winning dance.
there's anyone else that does something really interesting in judo that's like that. Those are the two that stand out to me the most. There was a wild story about confidence. There was a guy drafted in the NHL, and they literally called him the next Wayne Gretzky. He was Canadian. His name was Eric Lindros. And when he was drafted, he hadn't played a game in the NHL yet. He was drafted by the Quebec Nordiques, and he didn't want to play there. And he was so good. He was drafted first overall. He just refused. Like they drafted him. He's like, "No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to Quebec. I don't like that province. I'm not going to go."
Hey, can you say no?
He said, "If you draft me, like once they drafted him, he goes, I refuse to play for you. I won't play. I'm not coming. Like you can't make me." So he refused to go to the team. So then the team made this massive trade. Who did they trade with? I can't remember who they traded with, but like to get him. The other team traded Philadelphia Flyers, I think. They traded like everybody. They traded like their whole team. They get all these players. Forsberg might have been part of that trade, actually. So they make the trade. The Quebec Nordiques then move to Colorado, and then Colorado becomes this unbelievable team as soon as they come in the league with not Philip Forsberg. That's the young guy now. What's his name?
I don't know.
Forsberg that you know his name. He has a nickname.
Oh, Foppa.
Foppa. Yeah. What's his real name? Full name?
No, Peter Forsberg.
Peter Forsberg. Yes.
Peter Forsberg. Foppa.
Yeah. Peter Forsberg. Foppa. Yeah. So I think he might have been part of that trade actually. So it was him, and that team had him and Joe Sakic and Patrick Waugh and all this stuff. And it was like the Colorado Avalanche were successful based on trading Eric Lindros, who just refused to play for the team. And then ironically, the team moves immediately to Colorado, and he never played for them. And I don't think he ever won a cup. He was a very good player. He never won a cup, but Colorado won a cup like their second year in the league or something like that. So yeah,
I didn't know you could refuse to draft.
Yeah, they drafted him and he went, "No, I'm not going." Like, what are you going to do about it? Not coming. And so they drafted him anyway, and then they traded him and got tons of stuff for him. And yeah, it was kind of a wild thing. I think they traded him to Philadelphia. So that's a pretty bold move to just refuse to go to the team when you'd never played.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Lindros at like 18 years old. So
okay. Now when I already take a little bit judo, guys, then I can entrance my old opponent as well, Hashimoto. How he's walking like this.
Right.
Really.
Right.
Back with the leg.
Yeah. That reminds me.
I think he also like has his cheek up like this when he walks.
Right. Yeah. But that does remind me, one thing we never talked about that I do talk about. I know we're in the top 10, but sort of take it back a little. I'm a big advocate of one thing for confidence. So here's my deal. If I say to you, I'll give you $1 million, but you have to make yourself cry, and how you have to make yourself cry, but real tears have to come, and you can't physically hurt yourself. It's for $1 million, but you can't like cut your hand or anything. So you have to make yourself cry somehow. How are you going to do it?
That's easy, Josh.
Okay.
After I get some kids, if I see a kid get hurt, then I start crying.
Oh, okay.
Or if I see a kid like in the movie, if they're being left by the parents or anything,
Okay.
I'm so emotional now.
Okay, what about this? We're on the call right now. You don't have to actually do the experiment, and I don't really have the $1 million to give you. You can't watch a movie. You can't see anything. You're just sitting in a room. You have to make yourself cry. And what most people would do when they make themselves cry, the first thing is they change their posture. They slunch over. They let their head go down, right?
Yeah.
And then they might start picturing something that makes them sad. But the first thing that they do is they change their physical appearance.
Yeah.
And so the other thing we never talked about in terms of confidence is your physical stature, like how you literally carry yourself, is like Sagi Mookie walking out like he's the cat's ass and projecting this confidence is probably making him more confident in that moment. Hashimoto pressing his chest out and raising his chin, that doing that physical act is going to, just like the physical act can erode confidence, doing the physical part is going to naturally lead to it as well. So
Yeah,
I'd say
for sure.
that's a little interesting.
Yeah, I remember I was in high school, we had this mental training every week, and then I remember one week we were doing. They just go around and go around like this and be happy and laughing, really hard, and then I go around like this and cry, and
Right.
it was not possible. Not even like trying, like it was working.
Right. Yeah.
You go around like this, and you're happy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think about that a lot. Like it's definitely like a powerful tool is like how we project is how we, there's the expression look good, feel good, right? So
yeah, but it's like I had so many like things before the fight as well to get me more calm, to like be able to be calm and be confident, like make me relax. Because when I was relaxed, I was confident.
What were any of your tricks?
I don't want to say them out loud.
Are any of them appropriate?
Yeah.
Are you just embarrassed by them?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed by some of them. You have to get that feeling, that feeling that you just want to like, okay, eat them up. It changed during the years, but I cannot say them on air. If you meet me out live, I will tell you, okay? But I cannot have it publicity on.
So if you want to know how Tommy got relaxed to compete, then you just need to book him for a Tommy camp.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
That's really easy. You just contact me and we
look
fix
at that
it.
Tease. Love that. Okay. I think that's pretty good. I think we've sort of circled everything around confidence today, but I enjoyed that. It was great.
Yes.
So I think it's time to say see you next week.
Get out.